wait, stop. He sells on the Pacers that he's talked hype about all season, and then buys the 76ers that we have trashed all season.
They got the generation of chatter on Twitter everywhere, and I'm pissed I'm giving it to them, but damn it needs to be talked about.
Starting to become big-time free agents, granted, but in their childhoods, in the early 2000s, were the Knicks ever good? No. Welcome back, everybody. Dribbling Around, episode 10. Dane Richardson, Connor Glunt, and a new face helping out for us. Matt Kane from Goat Chat. Make sure you follow them. I'm going to post their social media on right below us. Follow him. Follow Matt on social media. And Jaden, not here today. Jaden's taking a little hiatus from the show. No, of course, he'll be back next week. But, Matt, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
I'm good. I'm always happy to fill in.
Of course, Matt's one of our good friends from Ithaca as well, and we talked last week, of course, about the Indiana Pacers. Of course, I'm kind of a closet Pacers fan, I guess you could say, and Victor Oladipo's returning. They're going to be all good, right, but not so fast. Domantas Sabonis with a significant foot injury leaving the bubble. That's going to be tough for them. Their leading scorer, not their leading scorer, their second leading scorer, I believe, but averaged a double-double, was a first-time All-Star this year. Connor, I have to believe they don't really have a chance if they don't have him in the first-round series. Am I right?
No, they don't. They were going to lean on him heavily to get before Oladipo was before he got back into his true form. So Sabonis out pretty much. And, of course, it happens right after I finally say, you know what, the Pacers are going to win a first-round series. But no, now all that hope is lost regardless of who they're playing, whether it's Miami, Philly, or if they slide down to Boston, they're going to be an easy first-round exit.
Matt, what about you?
I'm not a fan of the Pacers. I mean, I think with Oladipo, I don't think they would have won the first series, depending on who they play too. But obviously without these players, whoever they don't have, obviously, I don't think they're going to make it past the first round.
Now, we do give a lot of Sixers hate on this show, and Matt himself is a Sixers fan, so maybe he'll give some Sixers love heading into the show. And do you think you didn't think the Pacers were going to make it because they might match up with Philly in the first round?
I mean, I don't know. I personally wouldn't think they would match up with Philly just because Pacers are 5 right now and Sixers are 6. But, you never know. So,
yeah, and I agree with you guys. I mean, the loss of Sabonis, that's going to be tough. And I really thought they could push a Miami team to 7 because we don't know what the Heat or the Sixers, because those two teams were so good at home. And now there's no crowd, and it's going to be interesting to see who benefits off that. And we're going to get a good, interesting focus on that between the first 8 regular season games. Sticking with the Pacers, according to Richard Jefferson, he thinks Victor Oladipo might be in a Kawhi Spurs type situation that's happening. I don't think, if you're the Pacers, you don't want to lose Oladipo. You don't know what you could get in return. Probably a first-round pick or two, maybe a blockbuster deal coming. I'm not sure. I mean, last time Indiana did that was with Paul George. Of course, kind of you remember that as a Thunder fan. But how do you deal with this situation if you're Indiana, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, he's got an extension coming up, not this summer, but the following summer. So there will definitely be teams that will want him if they do decide to shop him around and just scrap the whole idea. But honestly, this Pacers team could use a couple of trades, especially if Oladipo is unhappy. It's better to move him before he starts making it known. And also, I've just been kind of on that whole they need to trade Miles Turner because it hasn't been as good as it should have been with Sabonis and Turner both on the court. So, I mean, honestly, this is still a good team on paper, fully healthy. They would probably win a first-round series, but nothing more than that compared to the rest of the East. So a trade wouldn't be the worst idea.
Yeah, I think Oladipo was saying, there's been sources saying that they rushed him back. He didn't want to play or something like that. And I mean, you always got to listen to the player's body. The players have to listen to their own bodies, and hopefully the Pacers, they can get Sabonis back. Highly unlikely. And speaking of someone else leaving the bubble, Lou Williams. I mean, Matt, you were laughing about that before the show. Give us your take on Lou Williams there.
This guy, I mean, I don't want to say anything bad about it, but this is kind of idiotic. I mean, you're in the bubble. You know the rules. I don't know why he wanted to leave or what.
We know why he wanted to leave.
Well, yeah, but I don't get what he was thinking in his head, just you're there for one purpose really, and that's to play basketball, and obviously have fun while you're doing it. But Clippers obviously are a great team, so I don't know.
Switching from another team with kind of the same color scheme, but instead purple and navy blue, to purple and yellow, the Los Angeles Lakers. We've talked about them plenty here on Dribbling Around. New look Lakers backcourt. Obviously, we talked about the Rajon Rondo injury. I did with Jaden and Connor. We got into a big argument about that. Avery Bradley, what impact is his loss going to have? And now you got Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith. And looking at the first two scrimmages, both have had significant impacts. I like Dion Waiters' play a little bit more. I think he's a little bit better in the pick and roll, and he's looked like a better jump shooter so far. But you also have Quinn Cook back there. Matt, I'm going to start with you on this one. Who do you think you should go to? Is it Quinn Cook, Dion Waiters, or J.R. Smith? Who do you think is going to have the biggest impact for the Lakers team in the bubble?
I'm going to go with Dion Waiters. Obviously Syracuse alum. Shout out Dion Waiters. But I don't think J.R. Smith, obviously, when you think back to LeBron and J.R. Smith, you think about that one finals, the iconic picture of LeBron getting mad at J.R. Smith. But I think Dion Waiters is going to have a great impact for the Lakers team. Whether it's off the bench or, whatever role he's playing, he's a great hustler. And, I think this past incident this year, I think it was this year, right?
Yeah,
The
the
gummy bear on the plains.
Yeah, I mean that definitely hurt his
Reputation.
Yeah, his reputation. But I still think he's a great hustler, and he could definitely be a great impact for this Lakers team.
Yeah, I've liked what I've seen from Dion too, except I think they should start out with Quinn Cook being that guy. I think Quinn Cook kind of fits the mold of what you're looking for in a point guard to replace Rondo, because Dion, I think he runs the pick and roll well, but he's too trigger happy in my opinion. And then J.R. Smith, everyone knows J.R. Smith. Like there was the one clip from the game the other day where he's like ISO backing down in like mid range and then just throws it off the side of the backboard. And then like right after that, he throws a over the head oop to McGee. So you know what you're going to get with J.R. Smith, which that is you have no idea what you're going to get. So I think Quinn Cook is the best surefire bet to lead this team, at least like for the first 8 games.
For the first 8 games, but come playoff time, obviously Cook, he was with the Warriors for a little bit, but you need someone to go get you a bucket. I would take J.R. Smith more as a shooter, number one. I would take Dion Waiters, especially in the pick and roll. And also defensively, of course, no one's going to replace Avery Bradley defensively. I would not take Quinn Cook on the defensive side of the ball. The guy's like 6'1", 6 foot. Like, length makes a difference. So, I don't know. I would take Dion Waiters probably.
Well, we're talking about Bradley as a 2 guard and Cook as the point guard. So,
yeah,
but they're not going to be matched up on the
2
same
guard.
guys.
You'd put Danny Green at the 2 guard. And I would put Dion in there or JR. And I think
the top
JR's
2 options
off
for the Lakers right now are not JR. It's Dion and Cook.
Yeah,
I think Cook is the better ball handler and distributor, and I think Waiters is going to be. I was surprised what I saw from Waiters. I thought I was going to see a similar style to J.R. Smith, but no, he did a good job in his limited time as a distributor. And what?
You know who's going to go ahead of Quinn Cook in the backcourt rotation? Alex Caruso. How are you forgetting about the bald mamba? Like, this guy, Caruso, I'm serious with this. Caruso is going to play over Quinn Cook. He's a better defender.
I'm only talking about the first 3. No, I'm only talking about the first 3 because those were the guys who got the most playing time in these exhibition games so far. We saw Caruso looking like a coach in a polo and slacks.
I get that, but when we talked about Avery Bradley leaving the Lakers and the absence that's going to have, or Rondo, you talked about how they had better defensive numbers with Caruso, right? So
yeah,
I
they can
think
still
it'll
have
be Dion
Caruso on the court with Dion. I'm not saying they have Cook and Dion at the same time. Dion and Caruso or Cook and Caruso makes more sense, obviously.
But why didn't you mention him in the first place?
Because we're talking about main point guards.
He is a main point guard. Caruso's more of a point guard.
And then we're also talking about the 3 guys who are playing the most in these exhibition games.
Yeah, LeBron played 1/2 in the first game and he didn't play much.
Exactly. So we really got to see what Cook, Waiters, and Smith were doing when LeBron was off the court. We didn't get to see what Caruso
fouled out in 12 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm not talking about Caruso right now. It's not that I'm ignoring him. It's just like we didn't really get a good sample of recent play to judge what we think is going to happen off.
All right. We'll see. We'll see. And hopefully my Lakers work it out. Of course, I have the Clippers to win it, and that's a weird pick, especially for a Lakers fan.
And final
We're going to go
segment.
into Bowl right now. Those two amazing games in the scrimmages, stretching his range from three, blocking a ton of shots. You saw that crazy block shot against J.J. Redick in the corner, and J.J. Redick's like, how the hell did he block that? Well, a 7'8" wingspan certainly helps. He's not just blocking shots. He's not just shooting threes. He's getting inside. He's making a difference, and he gives that extra big that can stretch the floor with Nikola Jokic and to go along with other bigs like Jeremy Grant, Paul Millsap, Mason Plumlee, like we just mentioned. But is this the Bowl we're going to see in the bubble? And if we do see this, what impact, how far can the Nuggets go, Connor?
I think a healthy Bowl at the level that we just saw him play, granted, is exhibition games. I mean, the Lakers are pretty much trotting their G League out for a half. So I don't want to put too much stock into it. But, yes, it did look promising. I think that Bowl, if he's playing at that level, at least, like, parts of that level. Like, I'm not going to expect him to just throw together a late Rookie of the Year campaign. But, no, I think he could be a big contributor for this Nuggets team. And depending on how everything shakes out over the last 8 games, he could be the reason why they win a first-round matchup.
I remember going back to the draft, and I remember watching Bol slipping in no one picking him, and I thought that was a mistake. I like Bol. I think he's a great player, obviously, well, with the injuries, though. But I think if he plays like this for the rest of this bubble, whatever bubble tournament, I don't even know what to call it, but
Fun bubble.
If he plays like this, I think he could definitely have a big impact for the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets can get further into the playoffs with Bol playing like this.
Yeah, and I've always wondered, it's tough for announcers because his last name is Bull, but his first name is Bull. So you just call him Bull for 3 or Bull for 3. I don't know. His dad, I think there's stories about his dad because they got him over from Sudan, and there's stories about him like drinking 20 beers before a game and like splashing 5 threes. Have you guys heard about that?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah, Manute Bol, rest in peace to Manute Bol, of course. But I don't know if Bol will do that. I don't think that it's allowed in the bubble, but we have seen some players slamming some beers in the bubble. You know, Myers Leonard, Jordan Clarkson. Myers Leonard, I think he did a Bud Light in like 3 gulps. It was kind of disgusting. I don't think any of us could do that at all. But moving on, some players that returned to the bubble. Russell Westbrook back in the bubble. Good for the Rockets. We kind of suspected that. And Zion's back in the bubble. We thought he might miss some time due to a family emergency. Some people maybe suspected a suspicious injury. Well, not so much. He's back in the bubble, ready to go. That's good for the Rockets and the Pelicans, respectively. Taking away from the NBA talk a little bit, Jaden was here for this. We had our 4th interview with an Ithaca College basketball player. This time, again, from the women's team, our 2nd interview on the Ithaca women's basketball team. This time, it was rising senior guard Megan Yawman, another awesome guest. Without further ado, let's kick it over to that. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Dribbling Around Ithaca Basketball interview series. Our 2nd women's basketball player joins the show, another rising senior looking to have her best season yet in a Bomber uniform, Megan Yawman. Megan, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, obviously, big news breaking in the Liberty League. All competition canceled up until December 31st. Big news rocking our world, your world, and everyone in Ithaca College because, hey, there's not going to be any sports going on until the new year. Has there been any discussions with your team and teammates and the coaches about what's going to happen next?
So our coach checked in with us today. He kind of just texted us to say, I'm here if you guys need to talk. He and our assistant are having a meeting with Susan tomorrow. So he said that he'll have a meeting with us like after that so he can kind of give us the proper information. But we actually haven't talked a lot about it. I think that's honestly just because there's not really much to talk about, because we didn't really know anything, especially with us not starting till halfway through the fall. So interested to see what the meeting with Susan and how that will go.
Yeah, so before December 31st last season, you guys had 7 games and went 4-3 in that stretch. In the remaining 21, however, you won 19 of those. Now that you won't have that extra those extra games to get into midseason mode, is there more pressure to succeed right out of the gate?
Sure. I think there's also just being Ithaca. I think there's always pressure that we're supposed to win. I think that's just that's why we struggled at the beginning, I think, because we had never started out 1-3 in Ithaca history, probably, honestly. So, I mean, I do think those first couple games are like super important. Just kind of gets you to play against someone else. I mean, scrimmages can only go so far. And I think out of conference games, because those are normally what those would end up being, end up being meaning a lot to you guys, like as our team, because come like NCAA time, like those games have a lot of meaning behind them. And it also just, different teams, different players as opposed to the same league ones. So hopefully we'll find a way to play those games, even if it's just, late in the season, like it's just another game. So I'd rather play it than not.
Interested to see maybe no non-conference games. I'm not sure. Hopefully you'll have some of those, but yet to see. Hopefully you do get to play a lot of games this year, but Jaden, go ahead.
Now you're going into this season with seniors missing, right? They're going to move on. Kellyanne O'Reilly, Cassie O'Malley. How do you think your role changes going into this next season?
I think that I'm definitely probably going to have to step into more of a scoring role, which I'm very ready for and honestly excited for. And I always take on whatever role the team needs me to do. And so last year, I feel like it wasn't my role to score. It was my role to set my players up for shots, which was great. And I loved it every moment of it because I'm a point guard. So kind of hard not to. But I think I'm definitely going to have to fill in the gap of scoring, and I'm probably honestly going to have to fill in a gap of playing some more minutes, because that's the thing that, I've talked about with my coach, that, everyone's going to think that we're losing a lot of scoring from those two, but it's more the playing time that those two, consume, that we're going to have to find who's going to take up those minutes in those positions. Because I honestly think that people would be surprised at the group that we're going to have in terms of scoring. I don't really think we're going to lose that much from a scoring perspective. It's just going to be in a different way. So I'm interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah, so you led the team in assists last year as one of the main facilitators in the offense. And you just mentioned that you think you'll have to step up more in the scoring role. Do you see yourself as more of like an outside threat, or just a dribble drive and either attack the rim or collapse the defense and kick out?
I think that I'm definitely more of an outside shooter from a scoring perspective. I'm definitely, during this offseason, adding more to my game. I think it'll probably be a majority of 3-point shots and like pull-ups. Again, that was something that I didn't really get to utilize a lot just because I only took like 4 to 5 shots a game. But I think that I didn't really, like, confidence-wise, have a great year shooting last year. I honestly think I shot better my sophomore year. But I think going into this bigger role, I'll be a lot more confident. I'll go into it ready to go. So I think I'll probably, like I said, be more of like an outside threat. Not that I won't take it inside, but that's kind of where I'm at.
For our next, Jaden, sorry, before our next question, kind of as a follow-up there, you said you're more of an outside shooter. You were a point guard last year. With that outside shooting threat, do you see yourself playing a little bit more off the ball in your season? Excuse me.
Yeah, I do. I think that's where I'm going to have to help out the minute perspective. So I think it's going to be very important that I'm in like the best shape possible, because I think it could be, we have 2 other point guards and we have a incoming freshman point guard, so that's 4 total. So I don't necessarily, like, when the point guard comes into sub, necessarily have to come out. Like, I might get bumped over to the 2, which we honestly started doing that in the beginning of the season this past year, and then substitution rotation wise, it just worked out better for point guards to stay in their role. But I do think I will play off the ball more, which will honestly open up the shooting perspective a little bit more.
Senior season on the South Hill, congratulations. You made it all the way through, and it's awesome to see you be able to grow like this. But now you might be put into a leadership role. How do you see yourself being a leader of this team, and obviously new recruits coming in, and how do you think you're going to be able to stand at the top of that mountain as a senior?
That's a good question. I mean this like in the least cocky way possible, but I would say that leadership has probably been like my strong suit since I was a freshman. That's just kind of the person that I am. Like, I don't really know how to not lead, like whether it's that's where honestly I think I struggled with most my freshman year, is that I didn't know like in what way I could lead without like stepping on people's toes. It's just kind of my personality. I've always been that way. But I think it's honestly been really fun and interesting to find different ways to lead, like, since I've been in college. I think this year was my biggest year this past year, because I think, especially how little we were winning in the beginning, and we only had 2 seniors, so my class had to step up a bunch. I think I've kind of already established my leadership role. It would just be kind of in a different way, I guess, but I'm fully ready for it. I have a very good relationship with both my coaches. So, and especially as a point guard, I feel like naturally point guards are kind of, the facilitator and leaders on the court. You kind of have to be. So I fully embrace that role, and I'm ready to go. And I think a lot of that, honestly, you do work for that now. Like, I'm doing everything I can to maintain relationships with each and every one of my teammates. And I've been kind of facilitating all of our off-season workouts to make sure that we're all staying on track and stuff like that. So, the leadership aspect of it isn't just October to March. It's a year-round thing and something that I really embrace.
We talked to Grace a little bit about that leadership, and you two should definitely be fantastic leaders your senior year. You also mentioned that you don't think the scoring is really going to take a drop off. It's just going to be different people. It's going to come from different people. So tell me, who's someone on your team that maybe was overlooked last year that you think is going to have a big year next year?
So I think that overall our scoring will probably come from more of a cohesive way, I guess. Not that I didn't think we were doing that last year, but Cass and Kellyanne were such dominant forces that we didn't really need to rely on that as much. But I think Kara Volpe will get a lot better. I think she is getting a lot better, and I think she's going to get overlooked a little bit from a scoring perspective. And I think we have a freshman post player that never really played because freshmen don't really play a lot on our team. But Emily Dorn, I think she's fantastic, and honestly is going to – I think she will fill in the shoes of Cass very quickly. But on top of that, like, we have Lindsay Albertelli and Abby Field. We have 3 6-footers that are all very, very talented and can easily pick up, I think, Cass's role. Obviously not just one of them, but I think that they're all fantastic, and I think they will all really surprise people. I would say that's kind of my main people. I mean, I think everyone's going to step up. I think it's kind of just natural as you step into the next year, but I think from the post position specifically, I think we're going to surprise people a lot.
All right, so next question. We talked to Skylar. He said he always has to have 2 fingers on his left-hand tape before pregame. Grace just eats any weird snack before pregame. Do you have any kind of superstition?
Have any superstition? Well, okay, I definitely eat the same meal before every single game since high school.
What is it?
It's like don't judge, but I'm a big Italian, so I gotta have pasta. So it's like a frozen skillet dinner from Wegmans, because go Wegmans from Roster, gotta. But I would say I eat that 4 hours before every game, and if I can't, then I'll adjust. I don't think I'm gonna lose the game if I don't eat it, but I feel a lot better about my game when I can have the same meal. But I would say eating the same meal is probably my best superstition.
Has there ever been a game, Megan, where you haven't eaten it and then it doesn't go well and you think that was the reason why?
Well, I mean, in college it was a lot more tough. High school was easy. I came home from school, had it, and then I timed it up perfectly. But college, when we play on Saturdays, you eat breakfast and then you go play the game. So I think I low-key think there's a little reason why Saturdays is a little bit worse of a game. But yeah, I think I don't think it's direct correlation. I'm not that superstitious, but I definitely feel weird and I'm freaking out. Did I eat with enough time? Did I eat too much? Or I'm someone that's got to be in the right stomach mindset before I play, or else I'm not going to go well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that for sure. We've been in quarantine since March, and it's been a long time. We're in July now. What parts of your game during this break have you been working on? Is it more of a mental thing, maybe a physical thing? You're working on your shot, maybe your dribble drive. What is it that you're working on that we can see next season?
So I would say during the peak of quarantine, from March, April, middle of May, especially when I was in school, ball handling was my biggest thing. I would say I kind of created a little mini court in my basement. I just cleared all the furniture and put up a table and different props that I could, do moves in my basement because it was too cold to go outside. So I was doing that every day. I was trying to do at least 10 minutes of ball handling every single day. I'm always someone that puts a lot of emphasis on strength because I've always been kind of smaller my whole life. So lifting is a huge part of it. And obviously it's been a challenge because, weight rooms haven't really been a place to go to, but I feel like I've kind of found my groove. But I feel like I've had a really good routine of ball handling and strength wise. And now that courts are open up, or at least it's nice enough to shoot outside. I'm living in Ithaca for most of the summer. So I found a court that I can go shoot at. So, but I would say probably ball handling and adding some moves to my arsenal.
Yeah,
Hopefully
so
we see some of that broken out. Sorry, Connor. Hopefully we see some of that ball handling broken out. I mean, have you ever snapped someone's ankles? Have you ever broken anybody as a point guard? I got to ask you.
I have, definitely.
Hopefully we'll see it next year as well. We're counting on you.
yeah, so we got to over quarantine. We kind of got treated to being able to watch The Last Dance, and I know you were talking on Twitter a lot about just MJ and all the greatness from that documentary in his career. Is MJ your GOAT?
100%.
Is there anyone that's a close second?
So full disclosure, I'm not a big NBA girl. Nothing against it, but I would sit down and watch college any day over NBA. So I would say probably LeBron is my next one. Like, he's just an absolute stud.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I already thought MJ was the GOAT, but The Last Dance just confirmed it for me. And I respect other people's arguments. Like, I'm not against other people. It's not like I hate other players.
Mm-hmm.
But, MJ was my dad's idol growing up. And so I kind of I maybe have a little bit of bias, but I feel like my argument is now valid because of The Last Dance.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, that was a fantastic documentary. Now, switching back toward you a little bit, we saw working in ICTV or doing various things for media before games. We saw your sister sing the national anthem a handful of times at home games.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just describe a little bit what that means to you?
Sure. Personally, I think my sister singing at my games is one of the coolest experiences I could ever ask for. She did it for a few games in high school. That's kind of where we started. Because when I was a senior, she was a junior in college, I think. So whenever she'd be home for breaks, she kind of started there. But in college, it's been just so cool. Like, having both my parents in the stands at every single game, and anytime she comes, it just the moment before a game, like during the anthem, is kind of my relaxation period. I don't know if you guys follow Peter Rader on Twitter, but he wrote a story about it one time. But it's kind of like my moment where I just kind of take a deep breath and get ready to go. But when my sister's doing the anthem, it's just so much more special. It's kind of like, she's always been the arts in her life, and we've always been so opposite. It's kind of like a way for our worlds to collide, I guess. So it's been very fortunate that we're close enough that she's been able to do that as often as she has.
Yeah, so we also, just from kind of going through your Twitter feed and not, big Friends and Office fan. The Friends reunion is definitely happening. So if you had to pick between one of them, would you rather have the Friends reunion or one for The Office?
Oh, Friends, no doubt.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Really? The Office, but I was Friends way before The Office.
Wow.
What about Friends makes it better? I'm a Friends fan more than The Office, but what about Friends?
I'm a big mannerism, sarcasm, and so
Okay.
Chandler and Joey obviously just are my favorites. But I don't know. My mom loved Friends. That's what we do together. We just watch Friends together. So, fun fact: my uncle is mentioned on Friends twice.
Really?
So my uncle is, you guys
crazy.
probably are too young to know about this, but his name's Chuck Mangione, and he is one of the best jazz musicians. He was has 2 Grammys and such. But anyway, during one of the scenes where Phoebe was trying to find her actual mother, and she goes to the beach and meets her, the picture on the mom's fridge, she thinks it's her dad, and the mom goes, "No, that's Chuck Mangione." And so that's my uncle. And then the other one was when Joey is remember when they switch apartments and there's that guy that sings the Good Morning song?
Oh, yeah.
So the tune of that song was my uncle's #1 hit.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's awesome. I mean, I'm really excited for that reunion. Personally, of course, I would say I love all the characters on the show, but if I had to rank them, I would put Monica toward the bottom. I don't know, maybe because she's the least funny,
Really?
but it's a classic. It's a
That
classic.
Kane
I put
love it,
Phoebe
yeah.
towards the bottom. I've
No,
never been a big
Phoebe's
Phoebe
great.
fan. I've never, ever been a big Phoebe fan.
She's
Wait, what'd you just say there?
I said Phoebe, I think, is a certain taste of her humor. You
Yeah.
have to
Yeah, she's a little different, but
Yeah.
she's a little different.
We going through your Ithaca bio. You talked about it yourself. Pasta. That's a big thing for you. What's the special one? What's your favorite? What do you want? You talked about the pregame one, but maybe not before a game. You're sitting down for dinner. Oh, I really want pasta. What's the go-to?
Definitely a penny vodka girl if I'm at a restaurant.
Okay.
But I would also say my grandma has her own sauce that, gotta bias there. But if I'm at a restaurant, penny vodka for sure.
And now, are you cooking any throughout this quarantine? It's an easy thing to make is pasta, but are you cooking any now to keep yourself fed like that, or are you saving it for the professionals? Okay.
I really wish I could say I was. It's something I'm trying to improve on during quarantine. But no, I'm like buy pre-made at Wegmans. 100%.
I feel you. Sometimes it tastes better like that, where it's done for you.
I'm like so hungry, like I need to eat in that moment. I can't wait like 45 minutes for the food to be ready.
Of course, you have a Wegmans around Rochester, right? Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Hometown.
Yeah. Now, speaking, you're from the Rochester area, and we realize you're a Syracuse Orange fan, as am I, and a tough ending for the season. We thrashed UNC in the ACC tournament, but coronavirus ended all that. But how do you think the team looks next year?
I think we might be going on the down low, but
yeah,
it's just my opinion. I think
prospects coming soon.
I mean,
I think in the next 2 years, like we have some like good guys coming, but like I fully respect Buddy Boeheim and I think he's great, but I think that has hurt our recruiting big time because he won't put anyone above Buddy. So,
I mean, you do have you got a good shooting backcourt back there with Joe and Buddy, but depends how much can their athleticism really carry them. So it'll be tough to see.
I think it more hurts on the defensive end.
Especially, I would say Buddy has good anticipation, but like you said, that 2-3 zone, sometimes you'll see Gerard gamble, and he's too little and it won't pay off and things like that. Now, I'm going to stick with Syracuse here. You've been a Syracuse fan probably for a little bit, but who's your favorite player you watched over your time as a Cuse fan?
Oof. That's a hard question. I would say – man, there's so many. I would probably say I was a huge Tyler Lydon fan.
Okay.
I just think he has like the most perfect jump shot I've ever seen of a 6-foot something guy. And then I would say I was a big like Chris Joseph fan back in the day.
Really? That a little Canadian right there. That's pretty cool. I think he's from Quebec, if I'm correct. I could be wrong, but Tyler Lydon, you never know. I think his basketball career is still going all right, but hopefully he can make it in the NBA. And I think you remember the NCAA tournament game, the Elite Eight game, where his shoe came off, of course.
Oh, yeah. So that team had to be my favorite. Like that run was just unreal.
I remember. I think you probably remember it too. The Malachi Richardson run. I just that's one of those moments as a fan where like, where were you? Where were you? And that it was just. I'd probably
put Malachi on my list if he didn't leave after 1 year.
Oh yeah, that's tough. Did you watch any Boeheim's Army?
I actually didn't. I think I was at my cottage when that was happening. I didn't have service. I was so bummed.
Yeah, I mean, but we're gonna stick with basketball here. You said you're from Rochester, the 585, and there's some notable players from that area that have made some noise in Division I basketball. Notably, there's Anthony Lamb, Isaiah Stewart, and I can name a couple others. But give your case. Why is Rochester basketball a little underrated, so to say?
I think just people don't really like expect anything out of. But I don't know. Basketball is just like such a competitive sport in my area. There's a lot of really good private schools. I will say, like that's where Isaiah Stewart went from. There's another one like Bishop Kearney that sent. Am I thinking of? The guy that went to Temple, Quentin Rose. Anyway, so like the private schools definitely send out a good amount every year. But I also think like the town, like my boys team, my freshman year, like went to states, and we had all D3 kids on our team, and like, so I think they're just, I don't know, there's just a lot of good coaches in the area. I mean, my boys' high school coach is a USA basketball coach, so it's like can't get much better than that at the high school level. But I think there's just like a lot of competition, and I don't know. I think just people. I really don't know, but like we take so much pride in how much we send to the big leagues. It's actually kind of funny.
That's cool.
Switching gears over to football. See that you're a big Bills fan. Are we jumping through tables anytime soon? What's going on? I want to go tailgating. This is Bills are looking good this season. No, if they do have a season, they're looking really good.
The one year that we're actually good. Yeah, I wish. I was a Bills fan like my entire life. My dad, when I was younger, his business did a lot of work with the Bills. So kind of got some access there. And then I stopped going for like most of my life. I don't know. I was just kind of like a fake fan, I guess. But then last summer, I actually interned for the Bills at their training camp in Rochester, which was actually really fun and cool. So that's kind of where I got my fan back. But I didn't make it to any games last year. So I went to like the exhibition practice game. I worked it, but like other than that, it wasn't much. But yeah, I hope. If not next year, I'm definitely jumping on some tables.
Tom Brady's gone. He's outside the division. I mean, I know we're a basketball show, but it seems very Bills-like that you get good, this is the year, and then snap of the fingers.
That works.
That's how it works.
Crazy. We're going to move topics, and this is a trivia segment. It's called Jaden's Jump Ball. We did this with everyone that's come on this show so far, and I also do it with these two knuckleheads sometimes, and they got some things right, but I'm going to give you a break here. These are all about you, all right? So this trivia is all about you and everything that you've been through in your career, some high school stuff, some college stuff, and let's see how far you get, okay? Right. So I have 3 questions for you, and the first one is, you led the Bombers in assists this season, well, previous season that you just have. How many did you have, numbers-wise? The exact number, how many did you have?
This year? Yeah,
this year. Led the team.
I give it a range, but like
I'll give it a range. I'll give you.
Yeah, of course, a range.
I give you a 3, give or take 3.
I think I might be close. 83.
84. I'll give you that one. Very close. Now, are you forcing it, or forcing passing the ball? Is that coming natural to you at this point, where you're just you just see people?
I think my court vision is definitely one of the best parts of my game. It also definitely helps when you got people that will run down the floor. I mean, that was like my go-to assist, is just launch it down the floor to cast. But I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like being a point guard, always looking for passes like that, there's definitely a lot of mistakes that I throw away. But no, I'd say most of it just kind of comes natural in the feel of the game.
Looking at high school now, what player from Fairport joined you in the 2017 Ronald McDonald House All-Star Game from Fairport that was in the school with you?
Caroline White.
Yes, Caroline White. That is the correct answer. Do you guys still talk? Obviously, she has some very high accolades in her time at Fairport. Do you guys still talk?
We've definitely drifted apart in college. In high school, we were like choosing my friend group, and I played with her since 5th grade, so we were kind of close all the way up. She was my co-captain my senior year. So, but I follow her basketball career at Damon. She's been doing pretty well. And they won their first conference tournament this past year. Obviously, you got kind of killed with the run, but yeah. So I haven't really been super in touch with her, but we worked well together in high school.
Yeah, how did that dynamic help you in high school all the way going up into Ithaca? Do you think you two being together was something that helped you in college?
Yeah, I do. I think it was just kind of different, like being able to work with different, I was captains with different people here in senior year. And she also, like I said, I played with her since 5th grade, but she was on varsity as an 8th grader, and I didn't get there till 10th grade. So it was kind of like, we're working with her experience, like my leadership, point guard post. So it kind of helped me to be able to relate to people with other positions. And I think that kind of, and also like when you disagree with someone and you are able to work it out, like that also helps you. So I was able to kind of bring that into college as well from a leadership perspective.
Final question on the jump ball. You were tied in leading this stat with multiple other players on your team. What stat was it? If I say it might be too obvious, but you're tied with multiple other players on this team leading this stat. Might be a trick question here as well, so give you a little bit of slack.
Tied with multiple other people.
It's not anything bad, trust me.
It's not anything bad. It's not anything bad. Actually, it's very surprising.
I would say free throw percentage?
Games played. It's a weird stat. 29 games played, and multiple other players on your team were able to do that.
Yeah.
Now, we looked at the boys' team, and only 2 players played every single game. Yeah, you look at your team, I think it's like 6 or 7 players that played every single game on the court. Now, obviously that might change this year, but how is it having that such cohesive unit together now going into next season?
I think that's kind of what I personally think is really fun about our team. Like, you know, starting sophomore year, like we went 10 deep every single year, or every single game, my bad. But I think it just kind of shows how talented our group is and how much confidence we have in each other, that like at any point, you know, we can put anyone on the floor to like help them and they can go off. But I honestly think that will kind of be the same next year. I do think that we were able to, the majority of the year, stay pretty healthy. You know, we definitely had some injuries, but not so much where people had to sit out of games. Or I think that's kind of also part of where the guys kind of lost some people there. They had to sit out some games. But I think we will have the same approach to next season because, like I said, I think we got a lot of talent coming up that a lot of people don't think we have.
You got through the gauntlet of jump ball. Good job. Proud of you. You know, tough questions here and there, but, deep breath. You got through it.
There's been a ton of buzzer beaters in your time at Ithaca. Of course, Annie Giannone, we weren't there, but we've seen the highlights of the half-court shot and in the Liberty League Championship. Of course, Grace this year against Vassar. But if you had to pick one favorite memory through your 3 years so far, what would it be?
Of a buzzer beater?
It could be anything. It doesn't have to be a buzzer beater. We just figured it would be one of those.
Yeah. My favorite memory. Okay, it's definitely not going to be a buzzer beater, but
Okay.
I would just say the game to go to the Sweet 16, so the round of 32, my sophomore year, so 2 years ago. I would say that's probably my favorite memory, just because I had never played in a gym that way before, and being able to host NCAAs like as a sophomore, like that was just so unreal. And I would say specifically, me and Annie never really got to play together a lot because I would always come in for her, obviously. And then like a few games towards the end of the season, coach decided to put us in together, and it was like unreal because Annie's like one of my best friends. And there was a play where I like dove on the ball for a steal and then threw it to her off my back, and then the next play after that she tossed it to me for a 3, and it was just like the coolest exchange ever, and we were like never got to play together. So I would say that moment and like that whole game, just the atmosphere, going to the Sweet 16, it was just like, I could say the NCAA run my sophomore year was probably my favorite memory, but if I had to pick a game, that would be it.
All right, and one final question, Megan. We just want to say thank you for joining us again. Make sure to follow Megan on our socials. But we obviously know that the team goal is to at least win the Liberty League and make it back to the NCAA tournament. What are some of your individual goals? Are you looking at stat numbers for a goal, or are you looking at personal accolades? Anything?
So I would say my goal is next year is to be the best point guard in the league. And you know, there's kind of different ways that you can judge that, but I would say from a numbers perspective, I want to be able to average double digits. I want my assists to go up. I don't really have a specific number, but I want that to improve, and I think it naturally will, especially my ratio and stuff after having that year under my belt. But yeah, I want to establish like my name next year, if that makes sense. I would love to like get an accolade at the end of the year, but I've never really been someone who's into individual awards. So if I don't get anything, it's no big deal. Like I know the year I had, and if I feel good about it, then I don't really need anyone else to tell me about it.
Megan, we think you can certainly accomplish those goals. And again, thank you for coming on the show. Remember, follow Megan on social media, follow us on social media, but make sure, of course, follow her on social media. Probably a great follow. She'll tweet about Syracuse, Bills, whatever you want.
Here to entertain.
Entertainment, of course. Let's head back to the show here on Dribbling Around, episode 10.
Thanks so much for having me.
Connor, another fantastic interview. Megan was awesome, and we wish her and Grace the best of luck in their senior season.
Yeah, hope we can watch them play with the new Liberty League guidelines and rules coming out. But hey, great interview. Always looking to have fun guests on again. So.
Yeah, we might take a little bit of a break from the Ithaca College interview series just for a little bit because the playoffs are starting back up. We're not sure how we're going to continue with that, but look forward on our social media for some fun stuff coming out, especially with the NBA bubble starting. We're going to try and incorporate some new fun things for our followers to go off of. Switching back to the NBA, of course, that's what we talk about most of the time. In college, there's not much news, some players returning to campus. But sticking with the NBA, we talked about a few episodes ago our final picks for the 8 and 9 seeds. Connor, I think you went with New Orleans. I think Jaden went with New Orleans too. But has your thought process changed? I'm going to ask you that in a second. But Matt, we haven't heard from you. Who's your pick to get that final spot in the Western Conference?
I've been looking this over, and I've been circling two teams, and that's definitely, like you guys said, the Pelicans and I love the Trailblazers too, so I think that they could slide into the 8 seed. As of right now, I'm going to take the Trailblazers just because I think Damian Lillard is going to get them to – I think he's going to get them there, and he's going to come up clutch when he needs to.
Connor?
Yeah, my two teams to get that 8 and 9 seed and get that play-in tournament were actually, I think it was Memphis and Sacramento. So Sacramento's seen some bad injury luck, and plus Rashawn Holmes just really needs chicken wings, I guess. So I think I'm gonna keep Memphis just because they've held that spot for so long this season that even though I think Portland and New Orleans look better on paper, I think Memphis is just gonna hold on. They've had the winning formula so far this year. And for that last seed, I'm going to say Portland gets it over New Orleans by a slight hair.
You mean for the 9 seed and then they go
Yeah,
to
for the 9
tiebreaker
seed,
and
not the
Memphis
8.
will-
I'm saying Memphis keeps
Okay.
the 8 and Portland gets
But
the 9 over
do you think Memphis
New
will get
Orleans.
win that tiebreaker?
I think I'd lean towards Portland, but I think Memphis gets into the tiebreaker.
Be interesting to see. I do have the Trailblazers as well. Think about it. You got Nurkic and Collins back, and that's a scary matchup for a Lakers fan. Again, this healthy Portland team made the Western Conference Finals last year. I mean, they beat the Nuggets in the Western Conference semifinals. They were the 3 seed in the West. So they're a dangerous team, and if I'm a Lakers fan, I don't want to face them. Another team that I think a lot of people are sleeping on is the Sacramento Kings. They have the same record as the Portland Trailblazers and the same record as the Pelicans. And, again, I think the Grizzlies will hold on to that 8 seed, but the tiebreaker should happen in the West. It's likely to. And Luke Walton's a coach. Didn't really work out in L.A. with the Lakers, but he has experience coaching a lot of those young guys. But it seems like everyone's sleeping on Sacramento, Connor. What do you think?
No, Dane, Sacramento was my sleeper pick to either get into that 8 or 9 seed, one of the two. Large in part because De'Aaron Fox, but also Marvin Bagley. He's not playing anymore because of an injury. So for that reason, that's why I didn't include them in my top 2 teams. If he doesn't get injured, I'm sticking with Memphis and Sacramento just because I think they're being overlooked. Just because, you have Zion on New Orleans, and then you have players returning from injury for Portland. But I just if Bagley doesn't get hurt, I think Fox and Bagley lead them to that play-in tournament. And they have a decent chance at beating Memphis. But for that, for injury reasons, it's just bad luck at this point. I didn't include them in my top 2.
Yeah, and I noticed none of us said New Orleans. Zion, I get they're a threat. Zion really, he's back now in the bubble. But, Matt, what is it about them? Why don't you think New Orleans could maybe get it done?
I don't know. I think New Orleans – great team, talented team. Obviously, we saw what Zion could do returning from his injury. Just if you're asking me Trailblazers or Pelicans, I have to go with the Trailblazers just because I love Damian Lillard. I think he could propel them over the Pelicans. I think Pelicans are a great future team. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think they're going to have enough star power to go against, like you said, Nurkic and Lillard and Collins over there in Trailblazers.
We'll have to see. And, of course, starting on July 30th, we're recording this on July 26th. It's going to come out in a couple of days. So when you guys see this, it'll be 2 days till we start with the Lakers, Clippers, and, of course, the Jazz. And as we just mentioned, the New Orleans Pelicans. Really excited for the NBA to start back up. And with the NBA starting back up, there's always players to watch, of course. And I'm going to start with my player to watch, and that's going to be Kristaps Porzingis of the Dallas Mavericks. Sort of an interesting pick, but the Mavericks, they're not really suspected to win a first-round series, especially if they stick in that 7 spot. But this is going to be – I'm really interested to see how Porzingis plays because we know what Luka Doncic is going to do. He's going to be a star-studded player in the Orlando bubble. But if Porzingis can average around that, maybe get up to like a 24-12 mark a game, the Mavericks can push almost any team to 6 and beat a lot of teams in the Western Conference. So what version of Porzingis are we going to get? Because if we get a really good rested version of Porzingis that I feel like people are kind of forgetting about, like no one really is paying attention to the Mavericks because where they are in seeding, and they could jump some teams and end up in the middle of the Western Conference and make a second round series or maybe push toward the Western Conference Finals. I'm not going to say they are, but that's who I'm interested to see. I know Jeremy Goldstein of the Knicks, he's not a big Porzingis fan at all, so to say, but that's my player to watch. Connor, who do you have?
Yeah, I'm gonna go East Coast. Jaylen Brown. I think clearly Tatum is definitely that top guy on the team, and maybe Kemba is that second guy. But Jaylen Brown really stepped it up. Was kind of having an underrated season. Not a lot of people talking about him. I think he's really gonna break out, and he could be the reason why Boston goes potentially to the finals. But they're a really good team, and partially because Tatum and Brown have both stepped up. But really, Tatum's the only one getting recognition.
Obviously, I've said Damian Lillard for the past like 5 minutes, but I'll go somewhere off. I won't go on Damian Lillard, but I'm gonna go. I was thinking about going with Jason Tatum. You know, look, Connor did say that he gets a lot of the credit with the team around him, but I think that he could lead the Celtics. If you watch Go Chat, if anyone did, I said Celtics make it to the Eastern Finals, the Eastern Conference Finals, and win that and go against the Lakers. I think Jason Tatum is gonna propel the Celtics to the finals. I'm just gonna say it right now. I don't know if it's a warm, take. I don't know.
I have to say, I have watched Go Chat before, and in the opening, I think you say if the Celtics play the Sixers.
I can explain that.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So here's what I think is gonna happen personally myself. All right, so the 3 seed is gonna be the Celtics. Okay. The 4 seed is going to be the Heat. 5 seed is going to be the Sixers. So the Sixers don't get a chance to play the Celtics. Okay. But if right now, obviously, Celtics are 3, Sixers are 6th. If the Sixers play the Celtics, I actually do. Like, generally, I think the Sixers can come out of there with a win. Yeah, I obviously know Connor's going to, just go off on that. But I honestly think that the Sixers can beat the Celtics. But because of how I had them projected in my head, they obviously wouldn't see each other. Sixers would have to go through the Bucks if they beat the Heat. So, and I think the Bucks would win that.
What do you think? Ben Simmons shooting a bunch of threes?
No, but I love what they're doing. They moved Ben Simmons to the power forward position, and they put Shake Milton in the point guard position, at least for this. I was watching the the Grizzlies game. So I love that. The Grizzlies scrimmage, it was Friday, I'm pretty sure. I love what they're doing there. I think Ben Simmons – I love Ben Simmons. Obviously I got the Simmons jersey on right now, but he's leading the league in steals. I love what they're doing with this new lineup, and I'm so excited to see it.
Yeah, Shake Milton, I think he had that huge game against the Clippers before COVID-19 happened, and he's a really talented player. A lot of people didn't really remember him at SMU. I think he was in the NCAA tournament a couple of times, but a talented player. Now, something that we did on our VIC radio show a lot, we did it at the end of our show every single time, are dribbling around picks. Now, Matt's going to pick for Jaden. Now, he's going to technically pick for Jaden. Jaden's still going to fill in his picks because the first game, of course, is 2 days from now on Thursday, Lakers-Clippers and Jazz-Pelicans. But I'm going to share my screen right here, and we're going to take a look. Connor and I have made our picks, and Matt, you're going to give some too. We might get into some heated debates about this, but we'll see. Let's see if I can share my screen. All right. You guys see it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Team A, Team B, take a look. Clippers-Lakers, first game, Thursday at 9 p.m. I don't know. I just feel like Jaden's very ahead here by 13 games. You take a look at the bottom. Connor and I are both tied at 43 and 83, while Jaden's at 56 and 83. Connor, I went with 6 games away from you, but
yeah, you really disagreed with me on this week, huh?
We got to make a difference. We got to charge ahead. I mean, you're just going to be
left
in the dust.
Let's make a pact. One of us, at least one of us, has to come close to Jaden.
Yeah, it's gonna be me.
We have to make it. Okay, all right, cool. Just take a selfish route. Cool. I'm just trying to be a team player.
Clippers or Lakers, Matt?
Oh man, I will say go Chad again if you watch it. I actually have the Lakers winning the whole thing, but I'm gonna go with the Clippers here.
First game back.
They're not gonna have Lou Williams.
Hey,
Lou Williams is going to be on his 10-day quarantine.
Yeah, the Lakers don't have Rajon Rondo or Avery Bradley, so
that's not a problem.
I do think the Lakers are going to win it though. But I think Clippers get this one.
All right. I'm not going to ask you about the next game because hopefully, Matt, you probably go with the Trailblazers.
Yeah.
You talked about Dame Lillard
Yeah.
most through the show. Celtics Bucks. That's an interesting one. I went with the Celtics blatantly because Connor went with the Bucks, and even though I think the Bucks will probably win the Eastern Conference as many other people do, but Matt, you think the Celtics are going to win the East? Do you think they'll win this game though?
I'm gonna go safe. I'm gonna go with the Bucks. You gotta stay
Okay.
safe here. Giannis's first game back.
Way to play the game, Dane.
They did. Hey, they did look very, very good. The Bucks in their first scrimmage against the Kings. Obviously, the Kings came back toward the end, but that was with a lot of their second teamers. But that starting lineup, Giannis looked magnificent. Rockets Mavericks. I talked a little bit about the Mavs. They've looked pretty good so far. They beat the Lakers in a scrimmage. I get that was against their G League team a little bit, and the Rockets. But I just feel like the Mavericks. I get they have that small ball lineup, but with guys that can stretch the floor like Porzingis, Powell, they're a good shooting team with Hardaway and Doncic. That just seems like a mismatch to me. Matt, what do you think?
I agree with you 100%. I'm gonna go with Mavericks there.
Yeah, the Rockets are just an inverse matchup that everyone forgets. Like they should have, like on paper, it doesn't look like they should have a chance against teams like Utah and Denver, but then they show up and then they just start outrunning everybody. Like that small ball lineup, keep sleeping on it.
We're going to skip over the next four, actually, and go to the bottom four. The Raptors and the Heat, that's an interesting one. A lot of people aren't really sure about Miami, Jimmy Butler, what to expect. I know Liam, he was on our show. He's vouching for Miami. He thinks they're their sleeper team in the East. And the Raptors, another kind of sleeper team. Nick Nurse has done a fantastic job, might win Coach of the Year. Connor, why'd you go with Miami, though?
Yeah, I'm going to explain it more in our final segment, but I like Miami a lot as a sleeper team this year. And they've had success against Toronto's home and away, so I think they're just going to continue that. They have the formula. They're going to get the job done.
Matt, what do you think? Raptors or Heat?
I'm gonna go with the Raptors here. You know, the Heat can definitely be a sleeper. I'm just wondering what they're gonna be like chemistry wise. You know, a lot of teams I'm wondering what they're gonna be like chemistry wise. So I'm wondering what the Heat are gonna be. Obviously, they were a hot team. The Heat, hot. You know, obviously they were hot coming into the hiatus. But I'm gonna go with the Raptors there.
Yeah, and I noticed Matt's agreeing with me most of the time, Connor. It looks like you're the odd man out. How does that feel? You're probably going to
Dane,
be
we
wrong.
both have the same number of picks right and wrong, so I don't know why you're trying to get cocky
Yeah, and it's going
act
to
like you're better
change.
than
I'm
me.
going to go perfect this week. And
Okay.
honestly, it's an advantage because wouldn't Jaden make the picks and make his picks first? Now, he has to make them next, but Jaden can kind of make them safe because he has a 13-game lead, so he can kind of protect himself. I'm not sure. That's enough with our picks. I'll stop my screen share right here as we'll get back to this. Now, to end our show, we're going to do a little segment that we haven't done before. 3 hot takes. I know Connor was excited for this one. He came up with this idea. First take's warm. Second take is hot. The third take is flaming. So I'm not sure if we all actually believe some of these takes, but Connor, you were super excited for this. We're all going to go around, share our warm take, then our hot take, then our flaming hot take. So Connor, we'll start with you. What's your warm take?
All right, Matt, I'm just going to start off the bat and piss you off. Philly loses in 5 or less and blows it up in the summer. And here's why. They were terrible on the road. They are such an inconsistent team. Who really believes in a tandem of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid raising a championship? Like, it just, yeah, you and Philly, that's it. Anybody who, like, it just doesn't make sense. And Brett Brown, he's not that great of a coach either. They need to trade at least one of them, and they need to get a new head coach if they want to have any chance at winning the championship.
I'll share my warm take. It's also about the Sixers, but a little individual talk here. Ben Simmons, through the bubble and the playoffs, will hit 8 or more threes. That is my warm take. Okay, I'll move it down to 6. 6 or more threes. 6 or more threes. That is my warm take. So I'm in the scrimmages.
Right?
He met with a sports psychologist. Just clear the mind, let the stroke flow, left hand,
Yeah,
like myself.
mean-
I just think it happens. I think it happens.
You said make 6, not take 6, right?
6 or more. Make 6 or more.
I mean,
How many do you think he's going to take?
Like 15.
I don't know.
Because they're going to leave him open.
Very happy.
I don't know. Now,
I mean,
what's your warm take?
I saw one of the shots against the Grizzlies, the Grizzlies. It was awful. I'm just gonna. He wasn't even thinking about it. He just shot it. It was pretty bad. I struggled with these. Not gonna lie. I do have a couple of flaming hot takes, but if I'm thinking warm here, I mean, what would you guys say about if the Celtics and Sixers play, Sixers upset, would that be hot or?
That'd be pretty
Yeah,
warm to
I'll
me.
give you that,
That'd be
yeah.
warm.
Okay, I'll put that as my warm one.
That's your warm take. You already mentioned that earlier in the show. To the hot takes. The one, not flaming hot, but hot takes. Connor, with you again.
I have 2 takes left, and I think they're both kind of flaming hot. And Dane and Matt, you know one of them, so I'm just going to keep that and build the suspense for the other take. But OKC is making the Western Conference Finals. And
That
here's
is
why.
so
Hey,
stupid.
Let me talk. It's a hot take. It's not supposed to make sense right off the bat. Chris Paul, who I guess is now a top 5 MVP candidate, they still have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and not to mention returning from injury that people are going to overlook this and just brush it off, Andre Roberson. Now, let me talk. He is an elite wing defender when fully healthy. That was really the one key component they were missing. They had that they had like a hole at the 3 spot because Terrence Ferguson wasn't doing too much. Luguentz Dortz was actually helping out a lot. But I think Andre Roberson, if he comes in, makes an impact on the defensive side of the ball. And it's not like, oh, they'll only have 4 guys on offense. Terrence Ferguson wasn't doing anything on offense. So this is nothing new. It's not like they're going to have an abysmal offense because they need him on the defensive side. No, I think he's really going to lock down. I think if they do have a chance at getting to the Western Conference Finals, it's going to be through the Lakers rather than the Clippers.
All right. I just, by the way, when the Lakers played the Thunder this year, they obliterated them almost every time. Even without LeBron and AD, Kyle Kuzma went out for like 36 against you guys.
It's a hot take.
Man, I feel left out without these mics. You know, I got nothing.
Yeah. Jaden does have one as well. I haven't seen it the past couple of episodes. Why am I saying games? My hot take, if the Dallas Mavericks move out of the 7 seed, they will win a first-round series against the Thunder, the Rockets, and the Nuggets, and the Jazz. No, if they face the Lakers or Clippers, they will lose. But those other 4 teams, they will win in at least 6 games. None of them will go 7. The Mavericks will win them. So I think the Mavericks, I already mentioned their mismatches against the Rockets when I shared my screen with the picks. The Nuggets, I don't think anyone on that team can guard Luka. The Thunder, well, I just did that to piss you off. And the Jazz, well, they're very discombobulated with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. Who knows how they're going to work that out? And they might be a sleeper team. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work out, especially with the loss of Bogdanovich, too, with the Jazz. So that's a really tough one. Bojan Bogdanovich is out for the season. So, yeah, I'm saying if the Mavericks will win in 6 games or less against the Rockets, Nuggets, Jazz, and the Thunder in a first-round series, if they move away from that 7th spot, if they end up facing the Clippers or Lakers, it's going to be a tough draw. Matt, what's your hot take?
I like that take. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna like that one. I love what Doncic and I want to see what they could do together. But my hot take, I'm gonna say Jazz get swept the first round, whether they're playing Thunder, Rockets. I don't care who they're playing. I still think they're gonna be swept. I think that this whole coronavirus thing with Rudy Gobert and obviously Donovan Mitchell, they're kind of, I guess fight. Whatever you want to call it. I think it's more personal. I think that it's going to leave a mark on the court, and I don't think the Jazz are going to be that good this bubble playoff run.
All right, I'm going to start with flaming hot takes because I think Connor's going to be way worse than mine. I don't even think mine's that much of a flaming hot take. And it's a trade, and I'm not going to give the trade details because I'm not going to work it out, and there's going to be multiple first-round picks involved. But I think next year, the Washington Wizards will trade Bradley Beal to the Brooklyn Nets. And the Brooklyn Nets this offseason will get Bradley Beal with KD and Kyrie Irving and will be the easy favorites toward the NBA Finals and will win the East. That's my hot take, my flaming hot take. With Bradley Beal,
it's
Kyrie,
kind of hard to
KD.
Disagree with it, but
I would love to see that.
But no,
No,
my flaming hot take is that Bradley Beal, because the Wizards are just going to suck. They're not going to make the playoffs. I don't even know why they invited them to the bubble, kind of a courtesy thing, because they're the only team outside of a playoff spot in the East. But, yeah, I think this offseason, the Wizards, they're going to get frustrated with Beal, and the Nets are going to take a risk, take the big money, add that third star to create a big 3 in Brooklyn, make the Knicks look even worse, and Brooklyn will be the big-time favorite in the East. Bradley Beal, I think, is going to the Nets. Matt, your flaming hot take.
My flaming hot take, I got to go. Sixers make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they win. Sixers are going to be Eastern Conference Championship. That's my flaming hot take. It's flaming, so, do I think it's going to happen? Not really.
But I don't really think so. Now, Connor, this one's gonna piss me off. I know it is. So, what's your
I don't
flaming
think it's
hot
gonna
take?
piss you
The
off because
Thunder
I'm
win
not
the
targeting.
finals.
No, I'm not doing two Thunder, and I'm also not gonna target your little precious Lakers. So don't worry about that. Don't over worry
The
about that.
Lakers
But
get
no,
swept. The Lakers get swept first round.
trust me, I would love to say it just to piss him off, but no. My flaming hot take is Miami wins the East. Probably gonna get a first round matchup with either Indiana if they somehow hold on to that 5 spot.
Sixers are gonna win the first round
Or
match.
Philly. No, they're not. They're not
Yes, they
beating
will.
Miami.
Oh my
No, they're
God!
not. Bam Adebayo owns Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons.
I don't know, but that's going to wrap up Dribbling Around episode 10. Sorry for the yelling right there. Connor and I were actually secretly best friends. We're secretly best friends. Matt, want to thank you for joining our show here on episode 10. Remember to follow Goat Chat right there below. They're a great podcast. Also on 1306 Sports. Make sure you follow Matt on social media. Follow Connor and myself. Stay tuned for next week. Again, some fun, more stuff happening. The NBA is going to start back up. Might be doing some Instagram lives during some half times. Connor, Jaden, and I are going to be talking about the show. Jaden's going to be back next week. Hopefully, we'll have a Jaden's jump ball. Again, that'll wrap up Dribbling Around episode 10. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us a listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Matt Kane, Connor Glunt, Dane Richardson. Peace out.